Page 38. I'm going to come by and collect because otherwise it's working, right? Okay, so TVM solver, and I want you to start thinking what if, okay? Because, right, as I said already, I'm going to just say it one more time. You might be making 100, maybe you make 5 grand a month. Once you get your job, your dream job, your career, you make 5,000 a month. You're like, you know what? I can put $500 away every month. Let's do it. But then you turn 40 and you've got all these other responsibilities, all these other bills that are coming your way, grocery bills. I can't do 500 anymore. What if I stop? What if I do half of it? All of those things I think are powerful because then you know what's going to happen to your investment, to your savings. Okay. So let's just highlight this so we know we covered it. Deposits stop along the way. So Trisha's 25, so there's a lot of age. Like I start at this age, I stop at that age. So you're gonna have to subtract to figure out your time. So Trisha's 25, would like to retire at age 60, 5 years earlier than usual. Actually, this needs to be updated. You and me, we're gonna retire at 67. Okay, it's no longer 65 because the pension fund wasn't sustainable. There was more being withdrawn than put in. So they extended it by 2 years. Yay, right? Anyways, she does not have a lot of money, but is able to make monthly deposits of 275. She goes to her bank, opens an RRSP, that's a registered retirement savings plan, to start contributing to save up for retirement. The bank offers a 3.8% rate, compounded semi-annually. All right, Trisha turns 35 and stops making contributions. Right? So 10 years have gone by, stops making contributions. And she has a family and purchased a home. How much will she have accumulated at this point? Determine the total interest earned as well. So I will say this. I don't know if you were listening when I said that, but the TVM solver replaces the need to use the compound interest formula. The A equals, but when there are payments, you cannot use the compound interest formula. You have to use TVM, right? If there are no regular payments, you choose. You know what? I love TVM solver, so most of the time I'll just use the TVM solver. But and TVM solver does not work for simple interest. So if you hear the simple interest, you have to think of iParty, right? You cannot use this one for simple interest. So just a reminder. So let's do this here. TNIPV, PMT, future value, PYCY. All right, what do we know? Compounding, in this case, is semi-annually, so that's 2. We're making monthly deposits, so it's either asking what monthly deposit or it's telling you monthly deposits. Regardless, we go 12. Future value, that's what they're asking for, right? How much will you have accumulated at the age of 35? We're making monthly deposits of 275, so that's negative. Present value, there is no indication of a one-time initial deposit, is there? I don't see it, so you put 0. Interest is 3.8, and here we know that this will be 35 minus 25 in a sense, right? We just subtract the ages, and then we'll multiply it by PY. So that's 10 times 12, which is 120. So over 10 years, you will have made 120 contributions. That's monthly, right? Because this is monthly. So here we go. Let's solve. I would encourage you to do the same because when I use the other functions, then you can follow along based on what's on here. So this is 120. So you probably realize that it's easiest to enter it from top to bottom, but when I do it on paper, I go bottom up. Okay. So this would be unknown to me, 12 and 2. Let's figure out the future value. There you go. So it's $40,006.97, right? The 5 bumps that to a 7. If you put a dollar sign in front of it, you're in business. You got full marks there. You don't need to make a statement or anything like that. So that's how much accumulated, right? I'll just make sure you understand. Accumulated over 10 years. So some of that money is what Trisha put in, and some of it is the interest earned along the way. Okay. Next, what else is it asking me? How much? Determine the total interest earned. Let's do that. So I will use sum of interest. Because it's a whole number, n is a whole number, I can just go from the very first to the 120th. So you need to quit this, okay? If you stay there, if you press apps, it's gonna insert interest in here. You don't want that. So you gotta quit it. Then you gotta go apps finance. No, do this again. Apps finance, and just go all the way down until you find sum of interest. Like add up all the interest from the first to the 120. So that's 7,006.97. And I think we've established it, like you could use the formula, it would work. You might be off by a few cents. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, we're done there. That's all we were asked to do. So we know that $7,000 was earned in interest, which is quite a bit of money, right? That's just for you having it sit there and it just earns interest. So, okay, next. She decided to keep the money accumulated up to this point in the account to earn interest until she retires. Calculate how much money she will have at retirement. Determine the total interest earned. So we gotta say here, payments stop. I'll make a note here. Payments stop. Okay. This is probably gonna be the scenario for a lot of you. You're gonna be like, I can't do this anymore. I need to like live and pay bills, right? So payments stop. What is gonna happen now? Let's see. This is the one where we will use previous information to help us out with this question. Okay. So we are assuming that the compounding period stays the same because we've not been told that is a different bank or anything changes. Are there any payments happening here? So what is PY? Dos, right? It's the same. No payments. Future value, I want to know that. Payment, none. So 0. Okay. You can almost say like payment is 0. Therefore, PY is equal to CY. I don't know. Whatever helps you remember. Present value. What's my present value? It's, think about it, right? It's this. You've accumulated this up until this point. So I'm going to go arrow. There's like a pothole, just like the city right now, all over the place. We go, present value goes in here. You're giving it to the bank. It's almost like you're saying, hey, take it back, right? So it has to be negative. This is classic, where we transfer information from a previous question, bring it over. The interest rate is the same because we've not been told that it changes. And how would we figure out n? We go from 35 to 60, correct? I don't know if you remember, up there 60 is where it stops. So we're going to go 60 minus 35 because we stopped making payments at 35. So it's from 35 to 60 that we're wondering now. And this is what's PY? 2, correct? So if you're careful, that's 50. Is that correct? Yeah, okay, we're good. So 50, and in this case, PY is semi-annual. So 50 semi-annual payments. You're like, there are no payments. What's up with that, Mr. Dixon? There are no payments, but you got to think of it. The payments are then technically the interest you're earning. The bank is paying it out twice a year to you. So think of it that way. So let's enter everything else. Go get your calculator. Apps, finance. Not much will change. So 50. Payment is 0. The PV is negative. You clear the future value. Just put a 0 there for now. And I got to make sure I change PYCY to 2 and 2. Let's figure out future value, the accumulated amount. And there it is. Alpha enter. Not bad, right? I'll tell you this, it's much better to save up a bunch of money when you're younger and then just let it sit there than to wait until you're like in your 50s and then start making contributions. You're going to have to pay way more to get that same goal, right? Because time is on your side if you just let it sit there. Are we good with this? Okay, so we've got this much money. How much interest have we accumulated? I will use this one. So I'm going to go from the 1st to the 50th. We're basing it on what's on the TVM solver right now. So we're going from the 1st to the 50th. I'm going to see if oh yeah, I used it before. So I'm just going to copy paste. I have it in my history here. So I'm going to go 50, make sure to delete that extra 0. Look at that. Look at that. This is how much interest you will have earned over the 25 years if you just let it sit there. Not bad. So I don't know if I wanted you to see the contrast between the two. One has payments, one doesn't. You transfer over some information, right? This is important here, that negative. And so here we go. Keep going. If Trisha decided to keep the money in the RRSP until 65 instead of 60, how much more would she have available? Determine total interest earned. So write this down again. NI, PV, PMT. This is a do-over. It's almost like, let's go back to, we're going to go 65. We're going to assume like at 35 it stops, right? We're going to go 65 minus 35 times 2. And that's 30 times 2, which is 60. Let me zoom into that because some of you are probably wondering what's happening. Because we're going to 65 now instead of 60. There we go. Interest is still the same. Present value will be this number again. No payments. We're wondering about our future value. PY and CY are still 2. So basically, all you have to do is if you go to Apps, Finance, TVM Solver, you just have to change the N to 60. And then I'm going to go to future value and recalculate. So now you're at 123. 123,761. 82. How much interest will you have earned here? You go from 1 to 60. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Just copy paste on your main screen. You will have earned 83,754.85. How much more available? I will subtract 123 76182 minus the 102 I had up here. There we go. 21,233.26 more available. Okay, so that's also something that was asked of us. So this is answering one of the questions. So you have to first figure out, right, the new future value, subtract both future values to say this much more, and then here's your new interest earned. Almost done here. Determine the total rate of return since the start of her investment. Remember, rate of return in a nutshell is interest earned in dollars divided by amount invested times 100. I would write that down again and box it in one more time and make sure this one makes it to the study sheet. I'd say this one is the best way of looking at it because amount invested could be just a one-time deal or it could be that you're making monthly contributions. So rate of return. We're going to assume she retires at 60. Okay, so we're not gonna consider this one we did up here in C where you go to 65. We're gonna say that this stops at 60. How much interest was earned altogether? Well, I'm gonna go 7,006. Where do you get that number from? This is A. That's the interest I earned in the first 10 years. Then I'm going to grab this 62,000. That's the other part of interest that I've earned. So 62, 521, 59. Sorry, I know. I'm going to zoom into that. So this is A and B, the interest earned. And how much money did Trisha put in from her own money over this entire time frame? 40,006. Go back to the very beginning. Like in A, we make payments, right? How many payments do we make in A? We make 120 payments of 275. That's all. This is the only money that Trisha ever put in from her own pocket. And you're like, this is so messy. I agree. It's very messy. So I'm going to add these two up and then we're done. I'm just going to say here 7,006 and 97 plus 62, 521.59. So total interest is 69,528.56 over 120 times 275. 33,000 she put in from her own money. So I'm going to divide that. Watch this, 210.69%. In finance, it's okay to be over 100%. Okay, in probability, not okay. But in finance, you've more than doubled your money, right? If you look at it, you've more than doubled. You started with this, you ended up with that, right? Or interest compared to the interest. So 210.69 is the rate of return. All right. I'm going to stop there. I will say this. Okay, I I posted 40 to 48 yesterday. I would strongly encourage you to go and try some of the more difficult ones to see if you know what needs to happen, right? So don't pick the easy ones. Go further back. Like I said, up to 42 yesterday. But if you continue, right, there's 44, 46. 46 is good because it includes deposits, but it's not always going to happen. And I do a bunch of what ifs. Okay. So I would say 47 and 48. Those are probably more challenging. So make sure you try those ones. And then tomorrow we're going to look at um, portfolios. What are portfolios? Portfolios are just a bunch of investments that you're making at the same time. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You might have some money in the stock market, some money in a savings account, some money in GIC, mutual funds, all of that stuff. And so we're just gonna do a bunch of TVM solver situations and add it all up to get your total amount invested. Thank you guys.